Welcome back to the 480 podcast. I'm Jacob Fredericks, and today we're going to be discussing the Cardinals' heartbreaking 34-28 loss against the Buffalo Bills and a preview into next week's matchup against the LA Rams. So in the game against the Bills, the Cardinals actually started really well. On their first drive, they took it all the way down, ending in a Kyler Murray to Michael Wilson touchdown. The Cardinals then found themselves up 17-3 late in the first half, and that's where I think this game changed. Buffalo had a 2nd and 11 in Cardinals territory, and the Cardinals managed to get a sack for a loss of about 8. Would have put them at 3rd and 19, a little bit even into deep field goal range, which is exactly where the Cardinals wanted him. However, they got called for a roughing the passer call, which, to say the very least, was questionable. I don't think it was roughing the passer because he does everything referees tell you to do. He tackles the quarterback. He doesn't land on him. He doesn't throw him to the ground. He actually tries to go around it, and that's exactly what he's taught. And they called a flag for roughing the passer, which then proceeded to allow Buffalo to score a touchdown on a Josh Allen run. Because as everyone knows, 17-6 going into halftime, when Buffalo gets the ball to start the second half, is very different than 17-10 when now Buffalo coming out in the second half has a chance to tie it, and which is exactly what they did. And from then, the Cardinals were kind of coming from behind. With the hostile crowd in Buffalo, they really struggled to get anything going in the second half except a kick return for a touchdown. And then on the final drive, they had the chance to go win it down by 6. And on 3rd down, they call a draw play, which I don't understand the call. I would love to talk to the coaches and understand why run a draw on 3rd down when the clock is running and you need a touchdown. If you needed a field goal, I understand running the ball, maybe throw them off, get some extra yards for your kicker. But in this case, you needed a touchdown and you run a draw play. I don't get that. And then on 4th down, and if you're going to do that, on 4th down, I wouldn't throw a low percentage fade route to not even your best big receiver, which is something else I'm going to get into later in this video. You threw it to Greg Dortch, who's a good receiver, but he's not that big frame receiver that the Cardinals should be throwing the ball up to like that. And so just to go back on the positives for the Cardinals in this game, I thought the offense looked really good. I thought they moved the ball down the field at a decent play. They were very short plays, like little by little they moved the ball. I would like to see the Cardinals throw deeper, maybe go for bigger chunk plays. And I think involving Marvin Harrison Jr., who's 3 targets with 1 reception for 3 yards, is not acceptable at all. At all for your rookie receiver who you drafted at number 5. He has to get the ball more. And that's what I think the Cardinals are going to look to do next week, but they have to get their weapons the ball more. Same with Trey McBride. He had 5 catches for 30 yards. We did not look for him in the red zone 1 time. We have to look for our big receivers in the red zone, and that's what I think the Cardinals really want to improve on going into next week. But also on the positive side, I thought Kyler Murray played very well. 21 for 31 with 152 yards passing, 5 carries for 57 yards rushing. I think the rushing game is what they really need to utilize Murray more with. I don't think they use Murray enough in the run game. Because when they do, he's almost like a Lamar Jackson level when he can run, and he's still a very good passer. So I understand wanting to use him as a passer because he is very good in that situation, but I think utilizing the run game is really going to help this offense build. And I think James Conner, when he had the spaces, was solid. I just don't think the offensive line necessarily got enough push on that good Bills D-line, which is why Conner had so many carries for such little yards. I believe it was 16 carries for only 50 yards. I think they need to get more yards per carry out of him, and that starts with the O-line. And then on the defensive side, I was very, very impressed with that linebacking core. Mack Wilson, Kaiser White, Zaven Collins. They all had brilliant games. 9 tackles each and 11 for Kaiser White. Mack Wilson had 8 solo tackles. He was all over the field, and I was super impressed with him. To me, he was the Cardinals' best player on the entire field that day. Rather, not just the defense, the entire field. He could have been the best player out there. And so I think for the Cardinals' defense, that's a positive. However, I thought their D-line got pushed around a little bit too much by that Bills offensive line. Now, I expected that D-line, especially the interior D-line, to struggle a little bit against the run. I expected James Cook to have a big game, but I think they just got bullied a little bit too much. And in the secondary, they looked like a young team, which is okay. I expected them to look young, but they held their own. They looked like rookies. The rookies that played in the secondary looked like rookies, and I think that's okay. That's what we want, because at least they look like professionals. If they look like college corners, we wouldn't really want them back there, but I think they actually looked really good for being rookies, and it'll be a work in progress this season, which is why I said the Cardinals, I think, are a middle of the table, maybe end of, last wild card slot kind of team. And so that's where I think the Cardinals really need to work. I think on the offensive line, I think the pass protection has to hold up a little bit more. Part of that is Kyler Murray running into sacks. That happened a couple times in this game, and I was not happy to see that. But I think the O-line, he needs to have more time. When he has more time, I think we're going to be able to push the ball down the field more. I think with the less time Murray has is the reason we have to throw shorter passes. And for a guy like Greg Dortch, that's really good. That's why Greg Dortch had 6 catches for 48 yards. He was very good because those are the routes he's... But I think we have to get the ball down the field to Marvin Harrison Jr., to Michael Wilson, to Trey McBride, and I think that'll help the Cardinals offense really thrive. So overall, I thought the game was not a bad look for the Cardinals. I thought for a team that went 4-13 last season, very, very good start this season against a very good team in the Bills. However, this is a game we could have won, and I think the Cardinals are going to look back at this game and maybe be a little disappointed, especially if they miss out on the playoffs by 1 or 2 games. This is one of those games where they could have won. It could have been a big statement game, and they just couldn't quite get the result. So moving along to the Cardinals' next game against the Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals have really struggled against the Rams in recent years, going 2-8 in the last 5 years. Sean McVay has had this team's number. And I expect the Cardinals to have a very, very difficult game again. Against Cooper Kupp, the Cardinals have never guarded him. They have never guarded him well. The Cardinals really need to focus on him because he can beat almost any defense in the NFL. That's how good he is. All the injury concerns should be gone after week 1 against the Lions. He was very, very good. And especially with Puka Nacua now out, Kupp is going to be the number 1 option. Now, Nacua being out does help the Cardinals defense a little bit because they have one less dangerous option they have to focus on. However, Cooper Kupp is still basically 2 options. We're going to have to double him all day long, otherwise he will torch our defense. Now, moving on, Matthew Stafford, obviously a very good quarterback for the Rams. And I think the Cardinals are going to have to really get to him, get pressure on him, make him get the ball out quickly. Because if we don't, our secondary, as shown in the Bills game, can't necessarily hold up yet. They're a little bit young. And that's what we expect from a young secondary, is to not be able to hold up long. So the Cardinals D-line and outside linebackers have to get to the quarterback. And on the run side, I think Kyren Williams, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for the Cardinals to deal with in the run game. They really struggled last week with James Cook, and I think this week they're still going to struggle a little bit unless they really get pushed in that interior D-line, or have our outside guys just get to the running back quicker. So to move along that, the Cardinals are still very happy that Aaron Donald is gone from the Rams. Oh my God, he was so good. And if you watch the Cardinals games against the Rams since Kyler Murray's been here, we all have seen it. Kyler Murray is scared of Aaron Donald. And who wouldn't be? Aaron Donald is a scary man, and we are so thankful that he decided to retire and he's not here. So that makes it easier for Murray, who maybe can finally really get that step up on the Rams and deliver. And I think for this game, they have to get their weapons the ball. I'm looking for them to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball very, very early and often. If they can get him the ball often, they can get McBride the ball often, it'll open up lanes for James Conner, for Kyler Murray to run, or even Trey Benson or DeMarcado. We have to be able to establish a better run game because through the air, in my opinion. Most people would think for most games you have to establish the run to open up the air. I think in this game it's going to be the opposite. We have to open up the air first to open up the run game, and then we can really kill them in all cylinders. And I think that's what the Cardinals are going to look to do this week. I think it'll be a very difficult task, especially against the Rams team, who they haven't beaten. And so that's what I think the Cardinals are really going to want to do. Thank you for listening to the 480 podcast. I'm Jacob Fredericks, and I'll catch you guys next time.